everybody, and welcome to Volvo Penta's Power Your Ambition podcast, where we talk to the people and the partners behind the performance. I am joined today by Anderson Industrial Engines, and I'm happy to have with us Zach Turner, who's a president of Anderson, and then Tony Dementi, who's branch and sales manager. Is that right? Awesome. Well, we're so happy to have you both here today to talk about more about what you do and a little bit about your partnership with Volvo Penta. But I'd like to start with a quick introduction, and could you each tell me a little bit about your role with Anderson? Zach, we'll start with you.
Sure. Like you said, I'm president with Anderson Industrial Engines. I mostly have a sales and engineering focus, but based out of our headquarters in Omaha, Nebraska. Part of the family that owns the company. We're a second generation family owned company. So run the business along with my brother and sister, and dad's now retired.
Oh, wow. So family business.
Family business. Yes, ma'am.
Great. What about you, Tony?
So I'm branch sales manager out of Modesto, California. Sales guys that cover pretty much Colorado to California, Oregon, Washington.
Great. And we know you're a family company, but for people who don't know, and you're one of our valued distribution partners with Volvo Penta, but tell us a little bit about who Anderson Industrial Engine is and what you do for listeners who might not be familiar.
Yeah, at our core, we're a wholesale distributor of off-highway industrial engines. But in addition to just, receiving engines in a warehouse and shipping engines out the other side of the warehouse, we do a lot of engineering and integration work with the engines, application review, testing and validation. We do a lot of value-added manufacturing and package building around the engines. So we really specialize in offering a customized, power solution to whatever the customer needs. And we also do, the other side of our house is the service and warranty and parts support and all the aftermarket sales support that goes along.
So things that support the life cycle of the engine.
Once it's out in the field and living, getting it all the support that it needs.
Is there a lot of applications engineering that goes into tailoring the solutions depending on what it is?
Yeah, it's a selling an industrial engine is a very technical role. So there's a lot of engineering detail, a lot of engineering work that goes into just putting an engine into an application. So we have an application engineering team that works closely with the sales team to walk through that process with customers. And then we have a totally separate design engineering team that does a lot of our package design and a lot of the parts and pieces that we put with the engine to build that custom power solution. It gets designed by our internal design team.
That's awesome. Take us back to the beginning a little bit. Talk about kind of maybe the family element. Why did you want to, or how did the company start and why?
The Anderson Industrial Engine Company spun out of Anderson Equipment Company. So Anderson Equipment Company back into the 50s and 60s was a Ford tractor dealer, amongst other things. And Ford decided to sell their engine to the aftermarket or to the free market. And so back in 1969, they went to their tractor dealers and said, hey, do you guys want to sell our engine to other people? And so that's kind of how the industrial engine business spawned out of Anderson Equipment Company. My father went to work for that company back in 1972. And by 74, we had incorporated it as a totally separate entity from the equipment side. So since 1974, we've been dedicated to just the sale of industrial engines. And so started with Ford. We've had different relationships with different diesel suppliers through the years, and on into today. So we represent a couple of different brands in the off-highway industrial space, but now we're just dedicated and focused on off-highway industrial distribution.
That's great. Being a family business, what's the value that brings to your customers?
Longevity is the first one. So we, not just within the family and the members of the family, but people in the company. We've got multiple people that are, over the 30 and 40 year mark, and tons of people over the 20-year mark. So we have a lot of institutional knowledge and history as well. And we get to make decisions as a small privately owned business that a lot of large, conglomerations or publicly traded companies or private equity owned companies can't make. Because we can do business the way we want to do business. That gives us a lot of flexibility.
I know that a couple years ago, you were named an Employer of the Year by Power Progress. Do you think some of the things you just cited are some of the reasons why you would receive a recognition like that? Or if not, what do you feel led into that?
A lot of that award had to do with kind of how we navigated COVID with our people and the way we
Tell me
treated
about.
people.
Okay, that's great. Tell me
I
about.
don't want to get into COVID again, but
I don't think anybody does. That's true.
just a lot of difficult decisions as an employer during that time, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the world was falling
Yeah.
apart. Nobody knew
Yeah.
what tomorrow was going to bring, and so our long-term relationship with our employees was one of the most valuable parts of our business, and so that is usually the first objective for us in making decisions, and then that commitment, I think, flows through the way we handle business with our vendors and customers and everything else. So
Yeah, no, that's great. Tell me a little bit. I want to talk about your relationship with Volvo Penta. So, we value very much our distribution partners and being kind of that like local service arm and supporting, the end customer in the field, engineering those tailored solutions depending on the application, things like that. How long have you been working with Volvo Penta? For anybody who wouldn't know that.
I believe we just had our 3-year anniversary.
Okay, great. And what made you want to partner up with Volvo Penta in the first place?
I think we had a void.
Mhm.
We needed to go larger. They
Yeah.
were looking for distribution and
Exactly,
it's a
in that
great
territory.
product. Yes.
Speaking of territories, what are some of the territories that you guys represent? So where do you cover?
But for Volvo Penta, we cover Oregon or California, Oregon, and Washington.
Okay.
And we have a new project going on in Alaska as well.
That's great. So let's talk about the distribution partnership and the value that brings. So service and support, things like that. What else? Aftermarket parts. You tell me how that's a value.
The part sales are really growing here in the last few months. We do a lot with the rental industry.
Okay.
And there's a lot of product that's out there in the rental industry with Volvo Penta Power.
Besides rental, that's a great one. What other, can you give me some examples of other applications that people might see Volvo Penta Power in?
We have some in Wiggins forklifts.
Okay.
Big marina style forklifts,
Yeah.
very large. So those are out there. There's some almond product out there, almond harvesting equipment.
Okay. What are some common uses? What do Wiggins forklifts like? Where would we see those, and what kinds of things what problem do they solve?
Well, they work in the shipyards a
Yeah.
lot. They'll take
Okay.
and move the ships around in containers.
People that have that kind of application, what are some of the features in a power solution that they'd be looking for? Obviously, durability. Is there anything else that in particular that comes to mind?
Durability, serviceability,
Yeah.
and parts availability.
Parts availability, that's a big one.
So when we sell a product, we want to take it from cradle to grave.
Yeah.
We want to be able to support our customer base and the dealer network.
the packaging is also really important. Some of those applications, even though it's a large machine, don't have a ton of space. So just the way the engine is packaged, the different after treatment system layouts that are, and the flexibility you have with positioning after treatment components is really important. And just, getting that much power into a fairly small envelope.
Yeah, that's great. Let's took it back a little bit. Now I'm curious to talk about the future. I know you think about based on the trends in the industry and things like that. What does the future for Anderson look like?
We're in an interesting position in the market. We're not technology creators, right?
Yeah.
So we're not coming out of the lab with new technology to bring to the market. And Volvo Penta, one of the reasons why we got engaged with Volvo Penta from the beginning was because they were engaged with alternate fuels. They were engaged with full battery electric solutions as well. Something that not all of our vendors are exploring or interested in. So we felt that finding a partner that was engaged in kind of thinking about what those next steps are in the market.
Oh, that's great.
It's really important. Yeah. So, I don't know what the future is going to bring, but we want options on the table
for it. No, that's awesome. Do you see customers as time goes on asking for those sorts of solutions then?
Well, especially on the West Coast, there's interesting dynamics of the state governments are willing to participate in the development of some of those technologies. There's other grants available. We have different emissions regulations out on, especially in California and the West Coast, that drive some of that stuff. So we also felt that Volvo, being a technology leader with some of those technologies, fit well for that specific geography and the territory that should open some of those doors for us.
Are there certain, in your opinion, like thinking about trends and industry trends, are there certain applications that you think will be transforming earlier than others with these sorts of sustainable solutions?
automation is one,
Mhm.
and we're seeing that. I mean, in Tony's market out on the West Coast and the fruit and nut market, there is a really labor intensive
Mhm.
process to go like pick apples,
Yeah.
for examples. And so we see a lot of people doing development around trying to automate a lot of that
Hmm.
harvesting in the fruit and nut market. Row crops are already pretty well optimized in
Yeah.
terms of harvesting, but still a ton of manual labor in fruit and nut. So I think that automation is going to be important in that market. And then again, a lot of those people are early adapters of the full electric versions of those machines,
Mhm.
or looking at supporting alternate fuels and things like that. So.
Yeah, great. That's awesome. How do you see Volvo Penta's partnership and the partnership with Anderson evolving through the years? I mean, that's a great example for customers who are looking for a broad portfolio, but any other ways as we look together for the future of our partnership?
Well, we're still fairly new, so
Yeah.
uh,
Well, you like
it,
us so far.
yeah, it's only been a couple years, so we're still, we've got a lot of our initial learning behind us
Yeah.
now in terms of just getting familiar with the product and the
Yeah.
systems and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like we're finally getting our feet under us.
Hmm.
Takes a while to
Sure.
really understand an organization the size of Volvo Penta. So
Yeah.
we're getting there. But it's clear that there's innovation still in the pipeline, right?
Yeah.
And you have to release the 17-liter gas engine
Hmm.
just recently, and more product coming on the pipeline, and in terms of just different options and power nodes and everything else. So we're excited to be here to offer that product on the ground once it's available.
Is that something, the G17, and that is an exciting launch? Is that something you see your customers asking for, a natural gas solution that you are excited to be able to offer them?
Yeah, we have a couple of customers that might fit the bill for that one,
Mhm.
but it's a power node that's needed in the market.
Yeah.
And whether or not our customers will be buying it, we expect those to be running out in our territory. So
Yeah.
there'll be people building sets with those in other parts of the world that are going to come out and run out in California and Oregon and Washington. So we're going to be there to support it, and we're going to be there to to take care of it in the field for sure.
Great. Well, I know it's only just the beginning, but we're certainly excited about what the future will bring for the partnership, and we definitely appreciate the partnership with Anderson. So thank you very much for joining. Appreciated having you, Zach and Tony here. Any final words or anything that we didn't cover that you want to?
No, I don't think so. It's been, we've had our ups and downs, and it's pretty positive. It's a great product. We want to just grow the line.
Yeah, great. We certainly appreciate your partnership, and thank you for being with us today. And thank you everyone for listening to Volvo Penta's Power Your Ambition podcast.